Okay, so I want to talk about the thing you read on the title, which is that history belongs to the youth. It is like a lot of things that I do seems to be this kind of notion that I'm like going against the older generations, but it's not really that. I seem to be just going against the older generation, people of the older generation who are trying to just gatekeep stuff, and maybe they just don't understand the purpose of what history is meant to be. But very well. So in a sense, you could say this is my anthem to those kind of older people who just don't understand it, and maybe in a sense, it's an advice to the younger people who have been tricked by the ways of older people. That's a bit more dramatic than what I'm going for, but you get the idea. It's more or less true, but not really. Let me give you a little story. I got interested in many different things, and well, they all have cultures and they have histories revolving around them. And in the sake of just having a story where you can relate to it or you can grasp the concept, let's talk about music. So I got interested in a lot of older music of really any genre, in many genres, and there's this notion about it by older people, people of older generation, where they're like, that song was overplayed like 40 years ago. I'm like, well, sure, but is it bad? It's like, no, it's better than, if you ask the guy, the stereotypical older man yelling in the sky kind of a character, just for the sake of the story. If you ask him, well, is that song bad? He'll turn around and he will tell you that no, this song is actually like miles beyond the songs of the modern kids and whatever. I don't feel like doing an old man's joke, the old man's voice. But anyways, like, and I wouldn't argue with that. I would argue with some of it. It's better than a lot of the pop music today, but I mean, a lot of the pop music back then was also trash. And we're just looking through it through the filter of time. But anyways, that's not what I'm here to talk about. It's like it's overrated, but you don't seem to understand the meaning of that. It's not that, well, people of your time are not the people who are still listening to it. It's the youth, it's the younger people, it's the newer generations. And well, to that, there's always some kind of an answer. It's like, yeah, but they're not getting it. It's like, oh, it got trendy on social media. I understand it. Like, it makes me feel bad too when a song seems to just get like a second wind just because it got trendy on social media. I don't like that either. Or maybe it got like used in some kind of like pop culture very famous trendy series or movie or whatever. I don't really like that too. Whenever it was that I as a fan, you know, it happened to me, when music I was listening to, it happened to that. Like at first it was kind of bad, but you have to understand like the people who are there because of the trend are the people who are going to leave because of the trend. So, I mean, at the very worst, you have to just hold on for about a month, and after that, it's just gone. So, I don't understand that argument of, these aren't really understanding the music the way they should be, and you're upset because, like, you liked this one song, and now you believe that it's overrated. And the reason that is overrated is not because people are actually interested in a song, it's that, well, they're not consuming it the way that you want to consume it. I understand that, but as I said, like most of them aren't real fans, and well, who are you to say who should listen to that music? And I mean, even then, there's a lot of people like take metal music's community for one, example. There's a lot of people who listen to metal music as a very philosophical, very deep kind of music, and to another portion of them is just angry people music. They're like, oh, I listen to metal when I want to get pumped up. I listen to metal when I want to, pull some extra weight at the gym. I listen to metal when, I'm angry, when I doing all those things. Like to me, that seems nonsensical. How can I listen to metal and get angry? One of the reasons I'm always so calm is metal. I'm not saying that without metal I would be angrier, but because it is in my life, it's one of the ways I use it to not get angry. So it's like we're all metalheads. We're all consuming metal music, but each of us uses it as a different thing, and we all perceive it as this different thing. So how is it really any different? And that's not a new thing. If not anything, like in the olden times, it was also the same thing. So in that regards, I don't really think that being angry by that ever makes any kind of a sense, and it's just really not that. And why that is a good thing is that, well, if something is staying, what you call it, is staying relevant, or is staying like still trendy, or is it still being overrated or overplayed, well, that's a good thing. Well, because first, it proves that it's something good. And second, it proves that, oh, younger people are actually interested in, stuff with good quality. And to some older people, it seems like a shock. And for as much as I like to understand that, yes, a lot of newer generation seems to not really care about quality as much, I don't want to allow myself to believe that, the younger generation, like people younger than me even, are interested in just pure trash. It may be me giving them too much credit. It may be just being too much hopeful, but I don't know. Too much hopeful, is that the correct way to say it? Too hopeful? I don't know. So yeah, that's one story of it. And another one is that when I see a younger person's perspective on that, I don't know, like, I don't want to listen to this song because like it's really overplayed. I'm like, have you heard of it? No, but it's really overplayed. It's just like, well, then you have not heard of it. Then it's not overplayed to you, and it stems from this notion of you want to be one with the society, you want to follow the stream, you want to follow the herd, and maybe in the olden times you had to get along with that, but I mean, as of now, there's just so many communities for everything that you always have your people. You're not going to be left behind because you're listening to some like rock song from like, I don't know, 40 years ago, from like 1970. Like, you're not going to be left out. And if you want to be hip and up to date and whatever you're doing and all your decisions are influenced by trends, well, I'm not here to judge, but you can do that. But never feel like, oh, I want to listen to this one song, or I'm interested in listening to that. It may be interesting, but I'm not going to do that because it's not of my time. Well, if we wanted to just stick to the developments and accomplishments or creations of our own time, we wouldn't have anything. Like, if we wanted to do that, we would just keep inventing the fire. Like, and you can't reinvent the fire, you can't reinvent the wheel. You just have to add on to that. And that's essentially what history is. That's the reason I'm saying that history belongs to the youth. And why am I caring about that? Well, music is a very personal matter. And on the other hand, if you think about books or other sources of media, books, stories, or movies even, a lot of people don't really watch a lot of older movies or read a lot of older books or really books at all. And the reason behind that is that it's not that they don't want to read that, is that they've been more or less programmed to think that, oh, it's just really old. Why would I read something that is really old? For one thing, because it's good. And it also comes from the fact that you want to have an experience, you want to have something new to say about something. And it's like, well, if today I start talking about the Lord of the Rings, like most of the people would be like, well, there's nothing new to be said about the Lord of the Rings. What are you going to criticize about the Lord of the Rings? And that's not correct. Like, yes, there have been a lot of people who have criticized, not criticized, as analyzed the Lord of the Rings. They have talked about it. But I haven't talked about it. You haven't heard me talk about it. And I'm saying you should hear me talk about it. I'm not referring to making a video on it on YouTube. I'm talking about it, hanging around with your friends and being like, oh, I read The Lord of the Rings. It was freaking awesome. That's what I'm talking about it. And it's like, go around to your circle of friends. How many of them have heard it? How many of them know about it? Yes, you may have seen the movies, and that's great because the movie adaptations are one of the best, book to movie adaptation I have ever seen. But the books are something else, and you want to have that conversation. And to just say that, oh, I'm not going to read The Lord of the Rings, I'm not going to read Jane Eyre, I'm not going to read Little Women, I'm not going to read Harry Potter, I'm not going to read Twilight even, just because it's an old thing, and I feel like there's nothing new about that. It's just one of the things that means like that bad kind of mindset from the older generations is now affecting you. Just imagine how that would be if someone, from, in the scientific world tried to do that. In the scientific world, we just never do that. Like I'm an electronics engineer. We never like, oh, this old method, we shouldn't do that. Why? Because it's bad. Like, no, we're like, if you don't want to do that, just say it. Maybe it's overly complicated. Maybe it's unreliable. Maybe it consumes too much power. Maybe it's bad. Maybe it has bugs. Maybe it has all those different things. But it's like, I want to use something that's cheap. You're like, oh, this older method is good. And you use it, or the other way around. It's like, oh, I'm using this older method instead of the newer method. Why are you doing that? Because, well, it doesn't have any downsides and this is my preference. That's the only reason that works. But as I said, if the scientific world wanted to do that, it would just have to keep reinventing the fire, which wouldn't make sense. So that's in a sense what I mean by saying that history belongs to the youth, and why I believe that no matter how much time should pass on, for as long as there's something that exists in the history, well, yeah, wow, in the history of our lives, and we can be interested in that, we should talk about it. We should experience it. We should talk about it. We should have discussions about it on any level. And for as long as we're humans, we should respect our history and we should push it forward. We should never discourage the youth or the next generations or the future generations from disregarding history. Okay? Go back to historical events. Think about them. There's a lot of elitist mindsets that go around a lot of these things, and there's always fear of being wrong. But who says that me even talking right now I'm correct? Like, who cares? The point of it is not to be correct. I'm not saying that, oh, I am this all-knowing, grand, fucking omnipotent knowledge base. That's a word. That you should, abide by my every word and you should stick to it. No, I'm just saying my opinions. And I have, talked about the same things with my friends, and you have talked about many things with your friends. And they don't always need to be true. Well, yeah, that's that. Sometimes you're incorrect. So even if you're wrong, like who says, like go back to a historical event, like a political historical event, and try to analyze it for yourself or your friends or in front of someone who actually knows it. Like, I don't care if I'm going to be wrong. Like, this is my opinion and that's what I think about it. And a guy who knows more about it will be like, well, that's that. Or if you're online and, some guy doesn't understand it, it's like, well, actually, which, is slowly becoming its own, I guess, culture. And on that, I feel like I've talked about enough about that. And I feel like I've made the point of why I think history belongs to the youth. And well, I don't know if you've enjoyed this video. Fuck, I don't know. Just sign me at the end of your will. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, cool.